All right, welcome to part 2. Thanks for hanging in there with us. So this slide is just a continuation of the TSES plan. It just goes into describing what research-based interventions will be used, focusing on phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension, and then what tools we'll use to monitor data. So we'll use FAST, CBMR, or PRESS. And rather than doing the progress monitoring biweekly, we'll do it once a week when they're in the stage of intervention. So the MTSS team, along with this classroom teacher, is going to continue to monitor data. And if it shows that progress is being made, then we'll just maintain that intervention. However, if the data shows us that there's no increase or a decline, at that point, a recommendation could be made to the MTSS team for the student to be evaluated for a possible special ed evaluation.
And oftentimes, if we are going to move towards a special education evaluation for academic, we do look to see if that student is in the 5th percentile or below, according to the national, according to our national data. And so again, knowing that students that are making, that incremental progress that are maybe kind of in that 8th, 9th, 10th percentile, those are our students who are going to be needing that Tier 3 intensive support, that small group Tier 2 with our paras when they push in for the intervention time or with the classroom teacher, and then that core. If it is a behavior referral, again, we're going to really have to monitor those specific behaviors that we want changed. Oftentimes, when a student comes in and starts to show behaviors without any prior knowledge or without any prior history, we do need to collect 6 months worth of data. And I know that that's hard to hear, being that that takes us through almost 3/4 of a school year. But again, in order to qualify for behavioral support, we really need to make sure that that student is not showing progress to the interventions that are in place. So again, if you're reading a daily social story, that's an intervention that will be targeting a specific behavior. And so then again, is that student remembering those skills? Do they have check-ins with the teacher on the skills that they're practicing? Those are all the components that we start to monitor to see if they're showing any improvement in their behavior.
And if you do need help with the data collection process for behaviors, please let the MTSS team know. That's another component of putting the intervention in place, but then are you collecting the data to show the response to the intervention? So just remember that component.
And the new just kind of direction that we are going to be able to go next year is hiring a behavior support specialist. Yay! So that individual will also help with a lot of that behavioral data collection, because that will be kind of the primary focus of this individual is going to be working with those Tier 2 behavior students and Tier 3 behavior students, so that we can really utilize those interventions daily and with fidelity to track if the behaviors are changing. Okay, so the decision making of the MTSS team. So the RTI model looks at the 3 levels of support for struggling students, and it is more comprehensive in that it looks at the whole child and goes beyond academics. When you do fill out that MTSS referral, we do go through that. We look at the teacher input, we look at the communication that's been made with the family, we look at the interventions that are in place. We look if the student has been referred to MTSS in prior school years with prior teachers. We look to see what their data is showing. It is a comprehensive process. We also look at the student's attendance. So believe it or not, but attendance is a huge precursor too on fidelity of interventions. If students are absent for 15% of the school year, that's going to have an influence on their ability to sustain some of those intervention components that may have been introduced. In general, decisions about the duration, the types, and the number of interventions are made on a case-by-case basis, utilizing all those different forms of data that we've talked about, and really not a prescribed length of time for intervention implementation. Again, typically, if it's 3 weeks of an intervention and we're not seeing any progression or improvement in the skills, we will look at changing the intervention. That's also why we have progress monitoring that happens regularly in the buildings on Wednesdays, so that we can, again, keep track of if those interventions are working. And again, the behavior interventions are going to always take a little bit longer time, as we need to give the child the opportunity to learn the skills that they may not currently have knowledge of. And then if the learning or skill gap is large, again, the intervention may take more time. And that's where any progress is still progress, even if it is really minimal or slow. So the time frames for the pre-referral process, sorry about that. Sufficient time has to be given to ensure that, again, they have the opportunity to make the adequate progress. Behavior data needs to be collected for at least 6 months. We need to use at least 12 data points to rule in or out the response to intervention for academic growth. And then these timeframes allow the MTSS team to have that adequate data to inform their decision-making process. And again, all factors must be considered: attendance, family changes, trauma, behavior, mental health, physical health. These all may be enveloped in what a student is experiencing, and they all may be contributing to the student that may be experiencing some of these challenges. But again, we have to be very comprehensive in utilizing and taking into consideration all the components of each individual student. So again, RTI is a verb. It demands action on the part of every educator on behalf of every student, and it requires a shift in our conversations from talking about my students and your students to all students. And lots of times we do have that awesome mindset that these are all of our kids, and we want all of our kids to have the needs and the resources to be successful. And again, I know, speaking on my behalf and Marie's new role as our new director for special education, we will be working very collaboratively on any MTSS referral that comes through. But we can't thank you enough for everything that you do. Your mindset into wanting your students to be successful truly is observed and noted every day. So on behalf of me, I just want to say thank you.
And I agree. I feel like we have the most amazing staff. We are so fortunate to have all of you.
And if you have any questions, you can send an email to Marie and I. We are also going to be uploading these for you to watch for CEUs. And in order to have a CEU provided, there will be a Google Classroom assignment just asking you to share one or ideally, we would love to have 2 pieces of feedback on something that just resonated with you, or something that you took away from this as a new learning for yourself, for your own professional growth. So again, if you fill out the Google Classroom feedback, then we will get you a CEU. So we look forward to doing this again next year in person, but thank you. Marie has listed some of our resources on here as well. So thank you again. Enjoy watching.
Bye-bye.